Information integrity, media funding model and the attacks on journalists are some of the issues being discussed at the M20 Summit in Johannesburg. The two-day summit is organized by SANEF, Media Monitoring Africa and other key players in the media fraternity. For more on this, we cross to SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo for the very latest. Good afternoon, Khayelihle. Very relevant themes being discussed that impact the work of journalists on a daily. Just share with us some of what has come out of those discussions.
Well, absolutely, Mfundo. It's been a very insightful and a very informative session here at the Melrose Arch in Johannesburg, as quite a number of delegates are here really just to look at all these issues facing the media houses, but all of them really emphasizing the issue of the free press, for the journalists also to understand the issues pertaining to information integrity, Mfundo, especially now where there's proliferation of disinformation in so many aspects. And all of this really, it's just brought closer with the theme of South Africa under the G20 presidency, where it's all about solidarity, equality and sustainability as well. But also it's about amplifying the voice of the countries in the global south. But as you know, that G20 is a very influential organization, Mfundo. It's a very key bloc, especially now where there are so many challenges. And of course, a very key player in this regard has to be the South African National Editors Forum, SANEF, and of course SABC as well, and many others as well. But joining us now is Mr. Reggie Malawisi. Of course, he's with SANEF. So once again, sir, thank you so much for your time. Maybe just before we start with the developments here, sir, let's look at these concerning reports coming out of Lesotho, where we've seen that the Lesotho Times editor has been detained or arrested for exposing some very startling revelations in as far as corruption is concerned in the Mountain Kingdom. And I would imagine that as SANEF, you have a lot to say about these developments.
No, absolutely, Khayelihle. Look, man, our colleagues at MISA, we are always in contact with them. We are always in contact with our colleagues at TAIF. But these are worrying developments. If you remember, it's not the first incident out of Lesotho. We have had a journalist killed there. We have had a journalist running away. So these are worrying developments that are coming out of there, that the journalists would be detained in an age where we live, we as journalists, by the rule book of a report of Reporters Without Borders that goes in every year tracing how media freedom is tracking in every country. And we have seen that media freedom in Lesotho has gone down, and it continues to go down, and it will continue to go down when we keep quiet or when we don't condemn such acts. Because what the Lesotho government is doing to the media, to journalists there, it's unacceptable, because journalists must be allowed to do their work, whether the government doesn't like it, but journalists are there to report facts and to report the truth.
Indeed, sir, I cannot agree with you more. But now let's come back to the summit itself. Your takeaway so far, a lot of issues coming, Reggie, especially because with artificial intelligence and many other challenges facing the newsroom. So far, what are you getting in terms of the key issues?
Look, man, I mean, if you listen to the conversations this morning, we spoke about the attention economy when it comes to young people. We spoke about regulation, self-regulation. We spoke about media viability. That conversation, we are about to take it further now in the afternoon. And these are the kind of conversations that we will always say the summit is meant for. We want to leave here tomorrow with a declaration that's practical enough. Even when we ask the G20 leaders to look into that declaration, to look at some of the issues that we discussed, they can see that information integrity is quite important when it comes to the media, not only in the G20 countries, but across our continent, across the global north, the global south, where we say the issues of the media needs to be put back in the agenda, because what journalists do matters.
Maybe just before I let you go, sir, and I would imagine another very critical element here will be around issues pertaining to the funding of the media, how to ensure that there's transparency, but also where the competition is quite fierce with the rise of other platforms as well. But I would imagine that the traditional media is still serving a very key role, especially for the media consumers.
Look, Khayelihle, mainstream media continues to play an important part in the South African landscape. Yourselves, SABC and other national platforms. Over and above that, we've got our community media platforms that also play that critical role. But also when you talk about sustainability of the media, we are talking about those funding models. We are talking about the Digital News Transformation Fund that's being done by AIP, supported by Google. That we appreciate, and we hope the guys in community media will use that fund to elevate their businesses, to keep revenue streams alive, but also the funding models of the SABC, of other national assets that we have. Those are quite important. They are important because we want to see the work that's being done by the mainstream media continuing into the near future. And that's exactly the kind of conversation we are having today and tomorrow, where we say, what is the plan when it comes to funding the media? And how are we going to do that? What are other revenue generation streams the media need to look into? And how do we address those? How do we unpack those? How do we empower newsroom managers to say, this is how you can take the conversation forward when it comes to media sustainability?
All right, so thank you so much indeed for your time. Of course, Mfundo, that's Reggie with SANEF, really talking about an array of issues that are being explored here by so many players. I can tell you this much, there are so many representatives from so many media houses, from the US, from Brazil, and so many other countries as well within the G20, especially in the context of the very important time for the African continent. As we know that November is going to be a culmination point where the G20 Leaders Summit will be hosted right here in Johannesburg. So we'll certainly be posted here throughout the day and just keep you informed.